very good afternoon to all of you and welcome on the Sunset Safari. My name is Jamie and this afternoon Adrian is on camera with me. For those of you who missed the Sunrise Safari, Adrian and Archie are here on a job interview. They've been doing an absolutely amazing job, and this afternoon Adrian will continue to do an amazing job. Now you're live from the Masai Mara in Kenya, hence why I'm driving so fast, because we got places to go, man. And we really do. If I can find it, I have got such a surprise for you. You are going to be beyond excited. I'm excited. Don't forget, because this is a live safari, you can send through your questions on hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. You can guess if you want. What am I taking you to? This is a mystery. It is a mystery that you will find out very soon. Send through your answers, hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. While we race, let's send you across to Brent, who has, well, a surprise up his sleeve as well.
Well, it is a great surprise, a very flat, very happy surprise though. And this is a pride of lions I have spent a bit of time with. Now, they live in the Mara Triangle, sort of opposite Purungat Hill on the Majachafu Laga. Now, I've nicknamed that area Happy Valley just because I've had so many happy times there. So I've nicknamed this pride the Happy Valley Pride. I'm not sure if they do have a name, but they are looking very, very happy today because they're nice and fat. My name is Brent Smith and I have Jahawi on camera and we're on a mission. So we're going to keep moving now. They're not going to move. They are very comfortable. They've got a nice high vantage point up here on one of the little Inselbergs, looking down to see if there's any potential prey around, but it looks like they've found some potential prey and are very fat. So there's 7 cubs and 4 adult lionesses in this pride that I've seen before. And they're at the moment trying to enjoy the shade. So Jahawi and I are actually on our way across the river. So we're going to head towards a lookout hill, and who knows, maybe we might have some cheetah luck yet this afternoon. But other than that, we're going to be staying at Sala's in one of my favorite parts of the Mara around the Sand River. And who knows what wonders will await. Last time I was across there, I had really good luck. No, that was of course a while ago now because I went on holiday, but I'm back and we're ready to carry on where we left off. So I'm hoping to spend some time with Miale, Malaika, the Musketeers, and well, whatever other cheetah we might be able to find.
Oh dear. Poor Brent and his signal, it seems to go up and down at the moment, but that's okay. For our new viewers, we apologize. We call it gremlins. Who knows what goes on, but things happen, bringing you a live safari. If it didn't, well, that's not, I don't think it would be possible for us not to have problems with gremlins. Right, so I've got to get all the way to the Salt Lick, then I've got to get all the way back again in time for the gate closing. Ooh, Jamie! Gonna do a little drifting there. But what it means is for the first, I would say the first 20 minutes of me on safari, we're not going to stop unless we have a pangolin. I don't know, unless we have a pangolin or an aardvark. I'm not stopping. Or okay, there are a few circumstances in which I might stop. So we've got some guesses as to where I'm taking you. Some of you guessing that I'm going to take you to a leopard and cubs. Well, now, I couldn't possibly confirm nor deny. Adrian knows where we're going, but only because somebody told us where to go. Otherwise, I was going to try and keep it a surprise. We actually owe Brent for this because he's the one who told me about it. FC doesn't know, as far as I know, unless they heard. They might have. Curious one, you say a baby rhino. What a lovely thing that would be if it was the surprise, would it not? And I would definitely be this excited for a baby rhino, so you might be onto something. I once, somebody once told me in a private message before I stopped reading them that it was very patronizing of me to make you guess what we were going to. I really don't feel that way. I don't want to spoil the surprise. I want it to be something extraordinary for all of you. So I'm not being patronizing, it's half the fun. Because I know what we're going to. It might take us through a few gremlin spots. I think we should be okay though. We'll just have to wave at the passing animals as we go along. Come on, Mila. You can do it. Mila, by the way, is the name of the vehicle that I'm on. We've got Mila, Kitu and Paka. Oh, hello, Piggy. In the Mara. And then Rusty, Jigger and Wendy back in South Africa. I do miss those 3 cars. Not that I don't love these 3. They're just slightly bigger. Slightly longer. And slightly noisier. Just a fraction. The diesel purr. I'm really excited for this surprise. Apparently you are. Alice tells me in Final Control that you are as well. I hope after all of this I can find it. I should be able to, for reasons that will become clear. Oh, so where we are now, I've been basically racing since about 3 o'clock this afternoon. It's now just after 3:30. So we're around the Egyptian goose territory. And I've pretty much been going at this speed since we started, except for when Adrian bumped into a friend of his, which is very random. They grew up together. And it just so happens that we stopped next to his vehicle and then we discovered that it was a friend of Adrian's. The Mara apparently is a small world. I'm just going to slow a little bit here just because sometimes there are animals. I don't want to frighten anything. No. My toe. Sorry, I missed that, Alice. I heard that Nina wanted to know if it was something, but what did she want to know? Ah, is Scar the surprise? I'll be honest on this one. No, I've passed his territory already. I did look for him this morning. No luck. I think he's on the other side of the river. But no, Scar is not. I'll be honest about that. Scar is not the surprise. We haven't seen him in a little while, actually. Let me try and think this answer through. Simon, it is a species of animal you have seen before, yes. That is as... I was going to be a little bit more cryptic, add a little bit more in the way of detail, but I'm going to keep it as it's a species of animal you've seen before. I think we've pretty much ticked off all the species, almost all the species. Hello. Oh, please don't give it away, please don't give it away, please don't give it away. Jambo, habari. Oh, I'll apologize to him later. Shame, it's a friend of mine who's one of the rangers, and I know if I stop to talk to him, he's going to ask if I know about it. So I'll apologize to him later. I'll send him a message. I need to speak to him anyway. Going to be doing some map collating, because there are maps and then there are the names that the guides call places, and what I've become very accustomed to is the directions that we get here, which is usually, you know that one bush? You know that one bush over there? Yes, you go a little bit and then you turn left and then you sour, then you cool. Driving around going, but which bush? And distance, our concept of distance and the guide's concept of distance, we're still adapting to it. Hello, Ellies. I'm not going to speed round you, that's for sure. Oh, what a magnificent bull. Okay, I said I wasn't going to stop, but Brent's disappeared off signal range, so, and this is just too gorgeous an elephant to not stop. Just quickly. I'm not going to speed past these guys anyway. Hello, big boy. Oh, I think this might be the biggest elephant bull I've seen in the Mara. Oh, gentlemen, hello. You are stunning. What a giant. What an absolute giant. You're having problems with the zoom there. You good? Oh, I think that's the camera playing up. I don't think that's Adrian. I think that's the camera having a moment. Alice, is Brent still out of signal? Cool. Yeah. Yeah, that's not Adrian. What a thing to happen on your interview. Oh, no. That's about as far as it wants to zoom, isn't it? What a pity. Oh, it's just one of those things, unfortunately. Okay, we're going to sort out the camera quickly because it would be most tragic if I couldn't share the surprise with you. Oh, so while we attempt to find our focus, so to speak, let's go across to Brent.
Well, welcome back. We're nearly at the Mara River, so we're nearly in an area called Puringat Bridge. You can actually see a nice big pool in the river down there. And I'm quite looking forward to seeing what's happening on the other side of the river. I haven't been there for a while. There we go. I wonder what's down there. Could we find some cheetah, maybe a leopard or two? We're going to have to wait to find out. But quite quiet other than that in this area. I haven't seen much general game around. It doesn't mean they're not here. They could be resting in the shade or just down off the crests. This is the area the Maja Chafu female leopard is seen in. I've actually followed her all the way through here and watched her go into Tanzania, which is right here. We're very close to the border with Tanzania in this area. Now, I am looking forward to a few days on the other side. As I said, I'm hoping to catch up with Malaika, Miale, Amani's daughters, Emani, just to make things a little bit more complicated. And as I said, a little bit quiet here at the moment. And this is the first vehicle we've seen since we left camp. We're just going to scoot past it. So we're going down towards the Puringat Bridge now. And then I think from there we're going to work our way slowly towards the Lookout Hill and up along the main national road back towards Salas. It's been a very productive area for cheetah. Well, it was 2 weeks ago when I went on leave. So hopefully our luck will continue. Remember, if you have any questions for us out here, hashtag Safari Live is the best way to get hold of us. Oh, well, it sounds like Jamie is still with those lovely pachyderms, and I've got some paperwork to do as I cross the bridge. So let's go back to the elephants.
The elephants are lovely. We've moved away from that massive bull elephant just so that we can keep going, but I had to stop because the gentleman on the left was being cheeky and decided he was going to come and give us a head shake and you know, show how big and strong he is. So I'm just letting him move away. You'll have to trust me. Okay, let's keep going. You'll have to trust me on this. For me to drive past an elephant and not stop properly is something that doesn't often happen. But I am going to keep driving past the elephant. As much as it pains me, it's worth it. We'll find that bull again. We will. He'll hang out in this area for a few days. So I promise I'll come back to him. Nani, you say thanks for stopping. You always love seeing the elephants, so magnificent. I do too. And for me to not spend more time with that giant back there is testament to the value of our surprise. I really, really love elephants. They're exceptionally special creatures. And that bull that we just saw was probably somewhere in the region of about 45, even 50 years old. He's gone, you could probably see, I know our camera was playing up, but you could probably have seen how large his tusks were. When elephants reach the age of about 40 years or so, their tusk growth increases dramatically. So tusks are always growing, but when male elephants reach that age, they really start to grow. And that's the prime breeding age of elephants. So although they will still breed when they're younger, at that sort of level, he's the biggest boy out here. He's definitely the biggest boy I've seen in the Mara. So he's going through that phase, and he really is. There's a few big tuskers in the Mara that are given names and are kept track of. People keep track of them, the rangers keep track of them. Kenya's done a huge amount to protect the animals that they have here. You know that with the rhinos, there's always a ranger in the vicinity, keeping an eye on them, making sure that they're safe. Just a few weeks ago, actually, a rhino went wandering off, and they actually went and collected it and brought her back into the park. Okay, we can do this. Danny, I'm not sure exactly what the average would be, but an elephant tusk is heavy. It's a tooth. So it is a heavy thing. At most, the record-breaking elephants, say for example the Magnificent Seven, the 7 tuskers that were in the Kruger National Park, the tusks would weigh in the region of around about 60-70 kilograms, possibly even more in the cases of the really large elephants, over 100 kilograms in some instances. So over 200 pounds, that's a really very, very large tusk. For a smaller tusk, I guess you'd be looking at somewhere in the region of between 15 and 20 kilograms for a female with small tusks, somewhere in that range. Oh, it's Piggy. Okay, so I'm going to be going into a dip. It should be okay. If the gremlins attack us, it's a bit of a tricky situation. Brent needs to get to where Brent needs to get. I need to get to where I need to get. So we should be all right, but just bear with us. If the signal starts to dip, Alice, don't stress, because the hill goes up again. So we should be fine. Yeah, what I'll do is when I get to places where I think the signal's going to really struggle, I will speed up and we'll get us out. So don't panic, everybody. If you get a couple of moments of black screen, you just trust me. Snazzy, I am 45 minutes drive in 4th gear out in the Mara, if that makes any sense. So I've probably done, I didn't check my odometer before I left, I've probably done in the region of around about 35-40 kilometers. No, maybe a bit less, that's an exaggeration. Let's say I've done 30 kilometers. Yeah, I've done about 30 kilometers so far, which is pretty far considering. I left it at 3 o'clock this afternoon, but I've been driving with a very heavy foot. Oh, I want to stop and show you the tree, I want to stop and show you the ostrich, but I'm not going to. I'm not going to, because I promise you when we get to the surprise, you'll want to spend as long as we can. And we can't spend that long, because I've got to get back for gate closing. Hold on. Rocky, 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 rocky. I could have done that more gently. Sorry, Adrian. He seems to be hanging on all right. It's one of the requirements for a job interview as a cameraman. You have to be able to hold on. In fact, we should make all cameramen go through a wild dog chase on Djuma first. Because that's when it really gets crazy. Yes, Barbara, absolutely. It is slightly different. So Barbara's wondering if we have restricted zones when there is a baby animal. When there is an animal that has a baby, that is a very popular animal, the rangers will be there, and the rangers will actually follow that animal every single day. They will employ a ranger if it's an animal that is seen regularly and is likely to find itself the center of attention. A ranger is employed to find that animal every single day. And what they do is they sit with that animal and they make sure that people behave themselves. So, for example, when the cheetah had cubs all the way over there, we initially, when the cubs were just tiny little fluff balls, we were allowed to go and see her. Unfortunately, it was out of signal range. Haha, I see the cars. I see the cars. I see the cars. So excited. Still a bit far though. They're on the other side of this ridge. Oh, I'm so excited. But we were kept 100 meters yards. And okay, guys, this is gonna happen for a little bit as we go through this dip. So please forgive us as we go through dips of black screen. It's going to be one of those things. We should get signal in the Salt Lick. We've broadcast from here before, so hopefully Mila's signal is feeling strong today. Hey Mila, broadcast away. Come on, girl. Put everything you have into it. Mila's signal initially, when we joked about it when we first started here, was so strong it used to kick Brent off the repeater. He wasn't happy about it. But at one point we did a TV show where Brent and I couldn't be powered on at the same time. Hey Mila. I'm just committed that way. Darlene, you say, oh my, the anticipation is killing you. Me too. My one concern, I'm looking where the cars are, we should be fine. If it was in the dip, we'd be in trouble. But because it's on a ridge, this surprise, we're going to be okay. Everybody just cross every possible digit you have and hold your thumbs at the same time and do whatever you have to do for good luck. We should be okay. We should have signal there. Oh, I'm so excited to show you your surprise. Hussein, the whole Mara has been discovered. The whole Mara has been driven. I have driven pretty much everywhere in the Mara except for the bottom corner of the Mara National Reserve. I haven't been into the conservancies, but yes, not all of it is accessible, but all of it has been discovered. There are certain places that are completely inaccessible. It's just one of those things where in certain times of the year the rain is bad. We do drive on roads that clearly haven't been driven for a couple of years. So while I say it's been discovered, it's definitely been explored, but there are times when you're with us on the safari and we're driving where somebody hasn't driven for years, which is a special thing to me. We've really got the most amazing vast amount of space. There's certain places that you haven't seen though, and that's because we don't have signal there. So along here towards Tanzania, those and see. Come on, Mila, you could do it, you could do it. You could do it, Mila. Patience, everyone. The worst is yet to come. Alright, so we're going to be going through quite a big dip. There's a chance we're going to vanish for a couple of seconds. I'm going to move through it as quickly as I possibly can. We should get signal as soon as we come up the other side. It's also because I'm moving so fast. I think if I was still, we'd be okay. Oh, great. We don't need to stress too much. We can actually go through the signal dips. Let's send you back to Brent while we do.
Well, hello! I've done my paperwork. I've crossed to the bridge. We are now on the other side of the river. And it's not because the grass is always greener, it's because there's more cheetah. So we're going to start meandering down towards Lookout Hill, which is to the north of us. I just wanted to have a quick squiz around this area. Maybe have a little poke down towards the Sand River. Actually, let's do that. Let's go have a little poke around the Sand River. Who knows, maybe we'll find the other spotted cat. Isn't it incredible, like, how quickly these areas recover? I mean, the wildebeest obliterated every blade of grass here, and it is already on its way back. Now, one of the other reasons, and that is because it's got some wonderful birds. So who knows what we might find. Now, the lions in this area tend to meander off to Tanzania from time to time, so who knows whether they are Kenyan lions or Tanzanian lions. They hold dual citizenship. It is a beautiful part of the world. So there we go. Look at that. There's that beautiful Sand River, and you can see that lovely big trees along the river. I just wanted to have a quick look from up high, see if we could see anything loitering on the edge. Now, Gremlins General is wondering if we have comms with any of the other vehicles on radio. We do not. On this side of the river, we don't at all. Believe it or not, we are in the what century? And I can't even remember. 21st, I think it is. So we do have WhatsApp communications, and a lot of them are with quite a lot of the different guides. And so I have messaged the guys to see where the cheetah are. I haven't got a reply yet, and likewise with them. Now, the big difference here is there are a lot of vehicles around. So generally we have we have communications with Angama and Silas and Oshaiki and the places we stay. We keep in good comms with them. But if we had to try, I really wouldn't want to be on the general game drive radio in the Mara. I think my ear would start bleeding because there's a lot of people talking on those channels. And we pretty much always have a reasonably good idea where the animals are, and we can always stop for a friendly chat as well to find out where animals are. And you hear me, Doa Chini, we're looking for the spot on the ground, which is the nickname for cheetah in the Mara. And Ju is the leopard, up and down. Now, Joy is wondering if we can see Kilimanjaro from here. Unfortunately not. Kili is actually that way, quite a long way that way. So the park you can see Kilimanjaro from is Amboseli National Park. That is where you are able to see Kilimanjaro. It's not that far kilometer-wise. How are you? You probably have a better idea than me. How far to Amboseli from here? 200 k's as the crow flies? about 200 kilometers. Not driving. Driving, it's a very long way, but in a straight line, it's not too far. There's some particularly rough country to the east of here. So this is also the area of, well, the one remaining notch male lion. I've seen him actually on this very road before. A shame. I think his time has very much been shortened by the loss of his brother, because a single male lion in the Mara is going to struggle to keep such a great territory as this. We got a border jumping giraffe on the other side. Here we go. So there's a Tanzanian giraffe. So we're literally right on the border. The river is taken as the border in this part of the world. Here we go, border jumper. Of course, there is no border if you're a giraffe. It's just another lovely patch to go walk around in. Fern says the terrain is so flat, it's beautiful. Well, it's not really that flat in this part of the world, Fern. It's very undulating. So you've got lots of little hills and valleys and dips. And at the moment, we're just driving on the northern sort of bank of the Sand River along this area that is slightly sloped. But as you can see in the distance up there, there's some quite big mountains. But those are in Tanzania, so in the Serengeti National Park. Now, those of you might remember, quite a while ago, Sebastian and I went and took you to the border where there's a sign saying, "Welcome to the Serengeti." And Sebastian was very naughty. He put his foot on the other side, and that was his first trip to Tanzania. Shh, don't tell anyone. Oh, Joe, we got a nice raptor coming in here. Here we go. Just hovering up. Now, it's a good one to test you guys on. See, it's got a very long tail. Now look for a rump. See, oh, there's a white rump. Now that's quite a good giveaway. So I'm going to let you tell me what bird that is. Lovely camera work there by Jahawi, following this mystery raptor as it cruises above the grasses of the Mara, mostly hunting insects. And I will give you another hint. It is a female as it disappears over our roof. There we go. So what bird was that? Hashtag Safari Live if you know the answer. Just checking around here, no, nothing just yet. And it is still quite warm in the Mara, so you're going to find a lot of the predators, specifically lion and leopard, are going to be very much flat cats somewhere in the shade. That's one of the reasons we're heading along the edge of the trees here, just keeping our eyes open. Okay, well, sorry, you're having a bit of comms breakup. Alice, can you go again? But there you can see why the Sand River is called the Sand River. You can see it's a lovely, lovely, lovely sand. Isn't that beautiful? I do have such a love for sand rivers, and some of my favorite places in the world have these magnificent sand rivers. Northern Botswana is just one big sand pit, but the Lowveld, the Salud Game Reserve in Tanzania, South Luangwa National Park, North Luangwa National Park, there's some absolutely spectacular areas. But Debbie in Vancouver was wondering, are there any active volcanoes in Kenya? No, I think the closest active volcano is in Tanzania, and that's Older Lengai, which is in or outside of the Serengeti, but it's on the near Lake Natron. There we go. Took me long enough. But then the largest active volcano in this part of Africa is in Congo, in the Virungus. Hi. Okay, so apparently we do have some answers coming in. Just going to get it ready. Oh, okay. Alzi, I'm just gonna let me just get a little bit up the hill here for the answers. The comms are a little bit out of it, so I'm just gonna go up a bit. It'll take me 2 secs just to get out of that little low area there. I have taught it to you before.
Well, it's one of those things. Brent's signal disappeared as he drove through the Sand River Valley. That's okay. So we've arrived at the last place the surprise was seen. Now, where is it? It's somewhere here. The cars that were here vanished. They left because they know they've got a long way home. So do I. But that's okay, we've got some time now. They were here, which means the surprise is here somewhere. Now we just have to find it. I just want to check one thing. No, that's a log. That's a log. I think those cars were positioned a little bit further. You might spot her before I do. Adrian? Requirement of an interview. No, I'm joking. Trying to blink out the dust from my slightly rapid journey. I know it's here. Okay, let's use the tried and trusted method. Find off-road tracks. That's what we're going to do. Well, at least we know we've got signal here. Now we just need to find our kitty. Don't forget, send through questions on hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. We are going... there's another vehicle. If they ask me where it is. Well, extra pair of eyes is a great thing. Ha 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 ha. Voila. Voila. Are we excited? Yes, we're excited. Am I going to tell you what it is? No. Yes, Simon, you say we need the thermal cam. No, Jamie just needed to curb her enthusiasm slightly. I drove past it the first time. Silly Jamie. Sitting clear as day. Oh, rocky, 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 rocky. Always with this particular surprise. Rocky, 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 rocky. Not the first time, is it? Okay, Jamie, calm down. Calm down. Do not put your foot flat and drive over the rocks. Calm down. Curb it. Curb it. Curb it. Curb it. Right. When do you say caracal? All will be revealed very, very soon. Very soon. You're in the right family. That much I'll tell you. Right. No, Els, I'm not quite sure exactly what we're going to find, so let me stop. Right, everyone, because she's very, very flat. I would like to introduce you to Kekenya's daughter and Kekenya's grandchildren. Let's go and have a look in there. Because not only do we have a female cheetah, can you see her there? Where's your zoom? There we go. Not only do we have a female cheetah, but we have some very, very young cubs off to the right of her. So for the very first time on our live safaris, we've got a cheetah and 2 young cubs. She's been hiding in no signal range for a very long period of time. And there she is, her very first litter. I saw them when they were very tiny. I saw them when there were 3 of them. Unfortunately now there's only 2. Hello. Little heads poking out. What do you think, everyone? Was this the best surprise ever? Linda, you say, ah! There you go. I could not be happier. I think this is the first time we've ever put young cubs on live safaris, at least certainly while I've been here. Young cheetah cubs. Oh, I'm so excited. Shall we reposition quickly? Let's go around them. I'm still going to keep plenty of distance, so we're going to give her some space because they're still very young. But I'm just going to move around to where we can see the cubs slightly. Now, Kekenya's daughter, let me give you a little bit of background on Kekenya. I've never seen Kekenya, but I know a little bit about her from speaking to the researchers. So Kekenya was one of those amazing exceptions to the rule in that she raised 4 cubs from 1 litter successfully to adulthood. That is an extraordinary feat for any cheetah. I mean, cheetah have such a high mortality rate that for her to have managed to do that is quite exceptional. This is one of her daughters, and actually both of her daughters have had cubs, one of which I say this is the first time we've put young cubs on the live safaris. I know Brent found that cheetah den, but it was quite a difficult view. There we go. It was quite a difficult view, but that cheetah that Brent found was her sister, is her sister. So Joy, in terms of age, they must be close to around about, I would say, 5 months, maybe even 6 months. You can see that they're still very, very fluffy. They've still got that line of fur over the backs of their heads. Let me think, Joy. Let me try and give you an exact age. So when we saw them, they were about 3 months old, and that was about 2 months ago. So that sounds about right, does it not? I think they're around about 5 or 6 months old. Hello, you two. Still very tiny. So cheetah cubs have this fluff along their backs, very, very fluffy fur when they're very tiny. And the reason that they have that is, as far as we know, to imitate a honey badger, because they're about the size of a honey badger when they're little. Oh, you've got full bellies. Has your mum been doing such a good job for a first-time mum? Well done, girl. So they're about the same size as a honey badger, but a honey badger is a great deal more intimidating than a cheetah cub. So the idea is to scare away potential threats by pretending to be a honey badger. An example of mimicry in nature. Honey badger is a small... Oh, look at its little feet. Honey badger, for our new viewers, is a small, quite ferocious animal. Oh, this is spectacular. Joy, the reason that there is such a high mortality rate within the cheetah population and for cubs is because cheetah fall right at the bottom of the food chain, especially a female cheetah, in terms of the large predators. So everything is a potential threat. Mostly lions, and there are a lot of lions in the Mara, mostly lions, as well as leopards. Hyena would be a very, very big threat because cheetah cubs can't climb trees nearly as well as leopard cubs. Buffalo often kill cheetah cubs. Baboons also kill cheetah cubs. So essentially everything's out to get them. And they don't quite have the speed yet to be able to escape. And they don't have the tree climbing and hiding skills that leopard cubs do. So that's why they have such a high mortality rate, which is why it's so exceptional for this female's mum to have raised cubs, 4 cubs to adulthood from the same litter. I don't know her name, and I actually don't think that she has one from the researchers yet. So her and her sister, I think, are unnamed, as far as I know. But of course, they will be getting names sometime soon, and in fact, I think she's earned it, don't you? So far, she's done well. And these cubs are, while they're not nearly out of the woods yet, they're past that really, really threatened and vulnerable age. Oh, little spotted sausages. So, proud cat mama, the cheetah will actually remain with their mum for up to around about 1.5 years. So it's one of those things where you actually find that, like similar to leopards, you'll get a difference between the males and the female cubs. And what I mean by that is, in leopards, you'll find that and I know that you know this, but I'm for new viewers as well. For leopards, the males tend to stay with their mothers for slightly longer, and it's quite similar that the way that the cheetah approaches the cub's independence. So it's usually around about 1.5 years, and once the cubs have learned to hunt, and you'll find that females tend to show slightly more independence. But what is really cool, and what we've seen with Armani's daughters, is that although they will move away from their mum, although they will move away from their mothers, they will often stay together for a little while longer. Before they have their first estrus cycle, they mate for the first time, and that desire for independence and instinct for independence becomes overwhelming. So female cheetahs are solitary. Many of you will have seen the various video clips that we have of the 5 musketeer male cheetah. Male cheetahs usually form coalitions, although 5 is unusual, but female cheetah are solitary. And you will not see them in the company of another cheetah unless they are mating or they have cubs. This is so special. Difficult question, Kristen. You want to know if the cheetah mortality rate is higher or lower than the national or international average. It has been slightly lower, as far as I know. In other words, cheetah have blossomed over the past few years, and there's a couple of reasons for that. One is that there was a dip in lion numbers. Lion numbers and cheetah numbers will often almost directly correlate. So there'll be a very close connection between the two because lions are the main threat to cheetah. And it is one of those things that has to be carefully controlled in closed reserves. We're not in a closed reserve, but where you have too many lions, cheetah just don't succeed. It's one of those things. Because while a hyena will steal a cheetah's food, a lion will steal a cheetah's food and actually try and actively kill them as well. So it has been lower, as far as I know. Cheetah numbers have gone up. It's difficult to say if that is an average, though, because remember, animal numbers fluctuate naturally. Nature does her thing, and nature has her own swings and roundabouts, and sometimes there'll be more cheetah, sometimes there'll be less. You'll never get an exact number of cheetah that stays constant. So at the moment, it's on an upswing, and there are more cheetah. The largest meta population of cheetah is in the Kruger National Park in South Africa, so connected to where our South African team will be joining you from very shortly. But as far as I know, it's on an upswing. But I don't know. I don't really know if that calculates or evens out the average. Snazzy, no, it's not that the lions want to eat a cheetah, so they wouldn't choose to eat a cheetah over another prey animal. But if they are hunting and they spot a cheetah, they will give up that hunt and they will go after the cheetah. And it's not about food. They very seldom eat what they kill. And in fact, you'll find that with most predator interactions where one predator has killed another, it very, very seldom becomes food for that predator. It's a process of competition. All of them are in competition for the same resources, and as a result, all predators, big predators, will kill another predator if they can. So if a cheetah were to come upon very young lion cubs and the mother was not around, if that cheetah were to be brave enough to overcome the smell of the mother and the fear of the mother, there is a chance that that cheetah would kill those cubs, without any question. Leopards will kill cheetah. Leopards are the only animal. Leopards and hyena will eat them. So leopards and hyena have been known to eat cheetah that they've killed. But otherwise, it's very seldom for food. It's a competition-based thing. Oh, it's a sleepy cheetah family, huh? No. Too sweet. I can't believe how big they've got. Because you say, why do cheetah breed so fast? It's a product of essentially a high mortality rate. So the fact that their cubs, it's like saying what came first, the chicken or the egg, but essentially because their cubs have a very, very slim chance of surviving, it's one of the different approaches that this particular animal has, and most predators follow the same approach. So lions and cheetah and leopards, they'll produce large litters, and if they do lose those cubs, then they will reproduce very quickly afterwards. They'll come back into estrus and they will reproduce again, and they'll try again. Cheetah in particular have large litters. It's not unheard of to have five cheetah cubs in one jumbo. 5 cheetah cubs in one sighting. So they breed quickly because otherwise they would disappear completely with such a high mortality rate. You're looking at a gestation period of just over 3 months before they give birth from when they mate, and they'll give birth to large litters, and if they manage to raise one of those cubs to independence, then it is a triumph. So we'll all be rooting for this particular cheetah to manage to raise all 2 of these, both of these cubs. Hey girl. And if she's moved here, guys, it's a signal area. We will find her again and again. Debbie, no, these cubs are no longer suckling at this point. They will be almost entirely dependent on meat, or at least right at that cusp of weaning. So obviously introduced similar to leopards and lion cubs to meat at around about 6 weeks to 2 months, and mom weans them off at around about 6 months. But to me, she isn't suckling anymore. I couldn't see any suckle marks. I did check, so I think these cubs are past the age of suckling. What has she seen? She's seen something. Apparently we've just missed... Oh, that's what she's seen. Can we have a look over there, Adrian? I think we've got some steenbok or some oribi. It's hard for me to tell at this distance. But she's looking at them. Apparently she just missed a hunt. Although they're quite round-bellied. I heard that she had a baby Tommy, but... So over there, can you reach them? Yes, you can. So, I'll help you. I'll direct you. You got him? Zoom in there, just over the top of that termite mound. There. But to the left, there. Oribi. Okay. That's what she's looking at. Okay, so that's what she's spotted. A small antelope, absolutely worth her attention. We're going to sit here and patiently wait and see whether or not she decides to go off and search for a meal for herself and her cubs. While we do that, with our surprise now out, cats out of the bag, let's go and see whether Brent has any surprises for you.
Ooh, Taylor's going to be so jealous. Taylor's been looking for those cubs. Well done, Jamie. So we're now below Lookout Hill. Now, as far as I've heard, Malika's been moved quite far to the north of here. But Miale has still been in this area, so that's why it's taking a slow drive around the front, and then we're going to pop up to the top of the hill, use our binoculars to glass about, see if we can see anything. And actually, I think the last place I saw Malika just before I went on leave was down below here, so she's apparently moved quite far from here. But I will get all the information in the next couple of days while I'm on this side of the river, and I'm sure we'll be into some cheetah action shortly. I'm also really hoping to spend some time with the good old musketeers. But they have been moving in and out into the conservancies. Now, I know that we've got some guesses for that mystery raptor that was flapping about earlier, or actually gliding very gracefully about rather than flapping about. Planes and Trains, it was not a kestrel, unfortunately. It was far too big, and that very long tail is one of the diagnostics on that bird. So not a kestrel. Beck and Mr. Zero say African Harrier Hawk, unfortunately not again. Now, Harrier Hawks don't really glide like that over grassland. They prefer to fly from tree to tree, looking for holes and crevices to get their dinner out of. Ah, well done, Colin. Well done, Colin. It was indeed a female Montagu's Harrier. So there we go. That's what she looks like when she's sitting down. Oh, how's that, Jar? Good. And that's what she looks like when she's sitting down. And that's, right, where is it? There we go. That flying, you could see that very distinct barring under her wings. And oh no, there we go. Wait, there must be one of, there's a female. Here's the female, but we can't see the white rump there, but that white rump is a diagnostic. Both the female Pallid and Montagu's Harriers have that white rump, but it is more pronounced in the Montagues. It's a bit glary, sorry guys. Okay, moving on. Time to find some cheetahs, some lions, or whatever might be on the side of the river. At the moment, it is quite quiet. Time to climb to the top of the hill. We'll have a quick look from here. On our endeavours to find some big cats, Jamie already has some of the cutest big cats around in those little cheetahs.
We do indeed. I don't think there's any arguing with that. Although, I have to say that this particular tree that I've parked us, or at least the angle that I've parked us at, has meant that the tree growing on the termite mound has a habit of blocking their little faces. So we will do a bit of repositioning in a moment. I've completely forgotten what I was going to say. What on earth was I going to say? Something about her, cubs, cheetah. Gosh, I don't know. Oh, I remember exactly what it was I was going to say. I'm hoping, and I don't think it's going to be the case because she's up and looking around. She's not fast asleep. I'm hoping that before we have to leave, these little ones are going to wake up and walk next to Mum. And then you'll get a real idea of just how small they are or how large they are, so that you get a good idea of size comparison, because this is quite a special opportunity. What a story this cheetah has to tell. Her very first set of cubs, in a world that's the odds are sort of set against her. She's lost one, but she's done well to keep these two alive. And that bush is annoying me. Let's go forward. Let's reposition slightly. Monique, let's try and find out. Let's zoom around, not zoom around. Let's potter around and try and see if we can get an idea as to the gender of the cubs. I have no idea. I don't know. Let's try and find out. Just like telling the difference between a male and a female lion cub or a leopard cub, it's a tricky-ish process. You've got to wait until they put their tails up, which cheetah don't do as often. Hey you! Hey you! Last time I saw you, you wouldn't let me anywhere near you. Hey. Yes, you were just little bundles of fluff then. I'm so excited. So I don't know the gender of the little ones. So it's not the best view of Mum, but it is a nice view of the two little ones. We'll have to try and see if we can figure it out. I'll also ask the guides, because they've spent more time with these cheetah. We haven't had that opportunity because we don't have signal where she was. So we haven't had the opportunity to get to know them all that well. Adrian, can we zoom any closer, possibly underneath that cub's tail? That's a bit early and it's not the best angle. There. No. Oh, it's difficult to tell at this age. They haven't reached maturity, so their testicles haven't descended. So it's very, very tricky to tell. If they are male, that is, obviously. Look at the fluff on their bodies. Fluffy, fluffy necks. The Lizard King, yes, you're absolutely right. Of course, the spot pattern is the way in which we identify individual cheetahs, and I'll explain a bit about that in a second. But the spot pattern is, much like leopards, fully developed when the cubs are born. It's just difficult to see properly because they're still a bit fluffy, but around their legs and around their bellies, you'll be able to see the spots very clearly, even from quite a young age. But what happens, obviously, as the cheetah grow, or as a leopard grows, or as a hyena cub grows, the spots spread out because the animal basically stretches. It's like resizing a photograph. And the spots spread out and they get larger, but the spot pattern is the same, and the shape of the spots is the same. Although I saw an article recently in some kind of silly magazine that made my blood boil, because it said that leopards do change their spots, and that the spots change when the cubs are little. It's not true. The spot pattern is established from the very beginning. And what we'll do when our lovely female, when Mom gets up, is we'll have a closer look at her, we'll have a closer look at these two, and we'll get an idea as to their spot pattern. The easiest way for our new viewers is to, for me, personally, this is my method, is to have a look for really prominent spots or something unique. So, for example, on the leg of the cub at the back, hey, don't move now. Well, actually, you can move with pleasure. There's two tiny little joined dots on the back leg, close to the knee joint. That's what I'm looking at. And it's not the easiest one to identify. That cub, here we go, we're up. flop. And we're back down again. So just to give you an idea of size, looking at them because it's difficult from your perspective, they are just a bit larger than your average house cat right now. In fact, one of those large cats, large breeds of cats, would probably be larger than them. Oh, Mom. Parlin, there you go. It's a nice example that you've just raised, actually, to explain what I was talking about the spots and the way that they stretch. So Parlin's pointed out that the tear marks, there we go, we're up, and we're down again. The tear line on the cubs is so large and quite broad. I'm going to go to Mum. And you are absolutely right. You know what? These cats are serval-sized. That's pretty much how big these baby cheetah are. You're absolutely right, and as they get bigger, that line stays the same. So obviously it doesn't look as large as it does on the female cheetah ones, or as large as an adult cheetah's. But that one's got particularly prominent ones. The one on the top, close to its mouth, really broadens out. Look at your belly. Don't you want to go and give it a little scratch? They are full-ish. They've had a small meal. Take care. It's not their den site. This termite mound isn't their den site. They're just resting here. Cheetah cubs accompany their mum from a very, very early age. So you've seen that den site that we checked regularly with Brent that he discovered up in the mountains. So a rocky outcrop or a croton thicket, or even potentially a termite mound could serve as a cheetah den. But they're at the point now where they will be essentially following Mum wherever she goes, and she'll put them in a place to keep them safe at night. But otherwise, they're pretty much her constant companions from now. Similar to the leopard cubs that we've watched grow up, except that the female cheetah won't leave them for nearly as long as a leopard will. So Karula used to stash her cubs, tuck them away in drainage lines. She was always so good at that. And they'd know exactly to stay there while she went away, often for long periods of time. Cheetah will keep their cubs quite close. They'll also move smallish distances. They'll go where the hunting is good, and this is the perfect kind of hunting area. She loves this area. Rocks, termite mounds. Rocks are great for her because it means that the potential prey might lose its footing. It also keeps lions, or not keeps them away, but there's less around areas like this. And the termite mounds, of course, for a good vantage point. Aww. Okay, I've got to put a time limit on this. We've still got another half an hour that we can spend with these cubs and get back to the gate in time. So, half an hour. That's how long I'll push it with this particular group. Snoozing cheetah cubs. This was not the way I was expecting my afternoon to go, I have to confess. I even said to Adrian, I'm going to have to find you some predators to film. Something along those lines. Philippa, absolutely. Those cream-tipped tails, their little white bellies, their little fluffy necks. They are awesome. Cheetah are awesome creatures. Now this is going to not sound ridiculous, but I think this is a really very good time to give new viewers an example of why cheetah are different from leopard. I know most of our regular viewers know this like the back of their hands, but what I find is a lot of new viewers are actually almost too shy to ask that because they feel as though they should know, or they feel as though it's sort of an automatic assumption that they should know. And it's a nice example because these cheetah aren't moving much, so not much is happening. So it's a great time for us to actually talk about it. And hopefully when the South African team joins us a little bit later on in the Sunset Safari, they'll be able to show you a leopard, and then you'll get a really nice comparison. We could show you a leopard in the Mara as well, you never know, but it's more likely that the South African team will find one if there is one to be found. So, cheetah and leopards. Cheetah have solid spots, as you can see even on the little one. Oh, did you make a little noise? Distraction. Cheetah have solid spots, leopards have rosettes. In other words, their spots kind of join together to form an almost circular shape with space in the middle that isn't dark or black. Cheetah have the tear marks, and the reason that they have the tear marks is because they are largely daytime hunters. Early morning, late afternoon is when they will be at their most active, and those tear marks that run from the corner of their eyes down to their mouths act as a glare reduction. So just like sports stars put dark paint on their cheekbones to help to reduce the glare, that's exactly what the cheetah have that for. Leopards do not have that. Leopards' eyes tend to be lighter in color. As a general rule, you will not find a cheetah with blue eyes. They have hazel or orange eyes. They are taller in the way that their bones are structured, in the way that their bodies are structured. They do not have retractable claws, and you can see that they are built for speed. They are sleek and svelte, and everything about them suggests streamlined. Their heads are quite small, their noses are quite short, and that massive tail is used for balance, whereas leopards are strength ambush predators. So pound for pound, probably one of the strongest predators that we see out here. They're stocky and powerful with fully retractable claws. Whereas cheetah almost have dog feet when you look at them. Almost. Still looking at the Oribi, which is now gone behind us, so we won't be able to show you where it is, but she's watching it. Waiting, I think, biding her time to see if it moves closer. Debbie in Vancouver, there's a good question that I'm not 100% sure of the answer to, which is when will the cheetah cubs be able to reach their full top speed? I'm tempted to say at around about 2.5 or so. And the reason I say that is you'll find with big cats, even once they've reached sexual maturity, they still do a little bit of growing or at least filling out. And you'll see it particularly with the male cheetah. They will continue to bulk out. But if you think about how male leopards change from when they reach sexual maturity, when they're capable of breeding, to when they are at the point where they can compete for territory, they go through this massive growth spurt, and they really do change and become more powerful. And I would suggest that a cheetah go through that period or that sort of development as well. But there's always, of course, the advantages of youth. So I'm guessing at around about 2.5, maybe even 3.5, when they're capable of reaching their top speeds. I'm honestly not 100% sure. They'd still be little speedsters now, but not quite capable of keeping up with mum at top speed. So while our cheetah have a nap, it sounds as though Brent on the other side of the river has been speeding along almost as fast as they can run.
Well, not quite, but we have been moving along. We've found lots of cheetah food so far, but no cheetah. But it is a very, very pretty sight. The Thompson's gazelles and the short green grass. Look at that, isn't that gorgeous? The light this evening is just spectacular. Hello, little boy. I definitely think they're one of the prettier antelopes around, the Thompson's gazelle. Very, very graceful. Now, in Jahawi, if we head off to the right of the Thompson's gazelle, there is a lone shepherd's tree. And in that shepherd's tree is a remnant of the migration. So at some point, there was the other spotted cat here. Because look there, there's a piece of I don't know, it looks like maybe a Thompson's gazelle. I thought it might be a piece of wildebeest, but not. a piece of Thompson's gazelle hanging in a lone shepherd's tree. There's not much cover around here, so I wonder how far that leopard would have had to have dragged that little gazelle to get it safe up into a tree away from the marauding hyenas and lions. Yeah, we're keeping on moving. So this is the area that Miale has been in quite frequently. Now, Robert wonders, would the Mara have more game than the Serengeti? Well, essentially, Robert, the Mara and the Serengeti are the same ecosystem. The Masai Mara is the top end of the Serengeti. So, as a whole, for the resident species, the non-migratory species, so outside of the wildebeest and the zebra and the Thompson's gazelles that migrate, the Mara would have more animals that are resident within that area. And that's just because it's a lot smaller where we are than the Serengeti, and also it's got a lot more of these little river systems, so there's a lot more good grazing year-round. Of course, not enough to keep the wildebeest here year-round, but on average, I would say it probably has more general game, and then a slightly bigger or larger percentage of predators for the size of the area than other areas in the Serengeti. But there'll be areas in the Serengeti like the Lamai Wedge, which is just below us, which will also hold a lot of animals. It's just not as big as the Mara. So I'm not seeing any sign of cheetah up here. So I am going to start slowly moving towards the Rongai. See what's about that side. I do love these little rocky outcrops on top. Always looking for something interesting around here. There was a lioness that denned here a while ago, but I think she lost those cubs. You always got to keep a close lookout in the shade, just in case there's a flat, lazy cat. But alas, today, no luck in this particular spot. Oh, we do have a very nice big antelope here before we continue our search for kitty cats. Looks like a little bachelor group of eland. They are so big. Here we go. Hello, elands. It looks like a little bachelor group. I don't see any females, some young males, some older males. Incredible that they can weigh close on 1,000 kilograms, a big adult eland bull. Even bigger than a male buffalo. Now with that great bulk comes a few problems, like a lack of speed. So not the fastest animal, but they have been known to defend themselves quite successfully against lions. Beautiful antelope. Okay, well, we're going to keep moving on. Keep searching for some predators up here along the ridge back towards Kikarok. While we do that, let us go back to Jamie and the gorgeous cheetah family.
Hello everybody, and welcome to your live safari with the cheetah cubs. I'm sorry, I was taken slightly by surprise. So we're still sitting with our cheetah cubs. I've repositioned. It is a difficult spot because we're looking straight into the sun, but if I move around to the other side of the termite mound, we won't see them. And a lot of people are on their way here in order to get one last cheetah cub sighting in before they have to head back for the gate as well. Now, of course, as you know, we do have permission to stay out after dark, provided we have a ranger with us. And we will continue to do that, but as it happens, I don't have a ranger with me today, unfortunately. So it was getting to the point where people were truly, truly exhausted. And so we've switched times, and that's hence the reason for the time change. But we will continue to take rangers out with us, and we will continue to film in the evenings. It's okay, little one. Poking its head up. What's there? Now don't you go to the other side of the termite mound now. I will be very upset with you. Here we go. Interesting how they choose to lie downhill, if that makes sense. You don't really see leopards doing that all that often when they sleep on termite mounds. I can't imagine it's all that comfortable with your head lower than the rest of your body. Or their head lower than the rest of their body. You can see they're alert little cats. That's good. It'll keep them safe. Spot on, Jake. That's exactly why the cheetahs flick their ears so much. It is indeed the flies. And a couple of them will be biting species of flies. I haven't seen any tsetse flies in this area, but there's a possibility that they would be around. So yes, absolutely. Well done, Jake. It is the flies that's causing those little movements of the ears. And the skin is particularly sensitive around the ears, as well as the fact that it's not as protected by fur. And so it makes it a very clear target. And if you have a look at the older individual cats, you'll see that they have quite tatty ears. And a lot of the time that's actually from biting flies. And just a little wound that's gone a bit infected, eaten away at the skin a little bit, and gives them a rather tatty appearance. So these cubs are quite young for that effect to be visible. But it will happen as they get older. Oh, little one, curling up its face. They're just too sweet. I have been dying to show you these cubs since the first time I ever saw them, which was months ago. With Manu, actually. And they just never quite made it to where we had signal. We tried so hard. LJK, it's a tricky one. So LJK's question is there any plan to diversify the gene pool of the cheetahs that we see? It's not really necessary here, because there's this vast ecosystem. There's no fence between us and the Masai Mara. The Masai Mara. Nonsense am I talking now. There's no fence between us and Tanzania. And there's a huge amount of space and a huge number of cheetah around in the conservancies as well. But cheetah, as a general rule, have very, very... What is the opposite of diverse? Undiverse is not a word, is it? Have very restricted genes, in the sense that almost all cheetah are all cheetah actually, are very closely genetically related to each other. And that was because many years ago there was a population bottleneck, and there was a situation where there were very few individuals left. So there's very little genetic diversity to start with. So to try and put in place programs that would bring in cheetah from a different gene pool, it wouldn't really help, and it would be hugely expensive and hugely risky to the individuals concerned. So the only thing really to keep the genetics as fresh as possible is to keep as many cheetah alive and relatively safe as possible. That does not mean that nature doesn't take its course. That does not mean putting them in a cage or I don't know, spraying some kind of lion repellent on them. It means providing an environment that is as close to natural as is possible, which this is, and allowing nature to do her work. But no, there's no plans to, in smaller reserves, in closed systems within particularly South Africa, because closed reserves are common there, and private land ownership of reserves is common. You'll find that there are lots of breeding programs with cheetah, and there's lots of sort of exchange programs. So a small reserve that, say, for example, has one too many males will swap them out for a female from another reserve. And in that way, they are able to keep the genetics of their cheetah as fresh as possible and prevent inbreeding. Same applies to lions. Leopards, it's next to impossible and not really necessary. Leopards disperse on their own, and you can't fence a leopard. But yes, there are programs that run, but you wouldn't find it happening here. I've been involved with a few, actually. Cheetah darting and transfers to other reserves and bringing in new cheetahs. There's a lot of reserves that will run programs where they actually take wild cheetahs off farms and put them into reserves, not cages or bomas, reserves. But what they have to do when they take a wild cheetah off a farm is they have to put it in a boma, in a restricted area for a few months, because otherwise they just go straight back home, back where they came from. So you'll see a lot of vehicles moving around behind the cheetah, just to remind you that the camera does compress the shot, so the vehicles are not as close as they look to the cheetah and the termite mound. They're still keeping the same distance that I did, just so that you all feel a bit more comfortable. And there is a ranger here, and he is moving the vehicles in and out as they go along. Okay, let's jump back on board with Brent and see whether he's had any luck across the river.
No luck, I'm afraid, just yet. But we are searching, checking all the good cheetah spots. Now, we left a little bit late today. We're fixing some stuff on the car. So we came in a little bit blind to this side of the river, but I'm sure we'll get it all figured out by tomorrow, or hopefully by this evening, that is. But it is very quiet. Lots of Tommies around, lots of warthogs, but that's about it so far. Now, on our drive over here from the triangle, there were a huge amounts of elephants in the triangle, and this side we haven't seen any yet. Now, the elephants were on the areas of grass that's already longer, so a bit easier for them to feed on. And I'm quite sure, as I say that, there's some elephants in the distance, but long way away. We'll try and get onto the top of the hill a bit closer. What is that? Is that a nothing? Or is that a cheetah? It is a nothing. Looked like a cheetah. You can see the elephants there in the distance. Far away. You got them, there we go. Little breeding herd. Oh, and they look like they're heading towards the road we're on, so hopefully we'll get a bit closer to them a little bit later. Now, a good pair of binoculars is essential, particularly in this part of the Mara, where you're often spotting animals at over 1 kilometer away. You see something that just doesn't quite fit the normal termite mound shape, and when you lift your binoculars, you hope it's got spots. I've decided we're going to maybe head down towards the north a bit more. I think the southern area is looking very quiet. Oh, time to take a gamble. North or south? North or south? Pretty sure if we go south we'll find lions, but I'm in a cheetah mood. And we're getting to the right time of the day for the cheetah to start becoming active as well. Decision time, decision time. There's another funny looking termite mound. And it is a log on a termite mound. That's very disappointing. Very, very disappointing. Okay, let's go north. That made up my mind for me. We're going north. Sorry, let's go again. The comms are breaking up. Okay. Well, of course, Jamie has got that beautiful cheetah family, and we've got a school drive about to join us. So Jamie's going to welcome them with some spotted cats.
Well, have we got a really truly special surprise for the kids joining us today. There you go, everybody. 2 tiny cheetah cubs resting in the shade underneath the termite mound. But a very warm welcome to Providence, Rice Creek and Glenwood elementary schools. I hope you kids are all very, very excited to go on safari. My name is Jamie, and this afternoon Adrian is on camera with me. So he's the one showing you these amazing things. Now, we're in a place called the Masai Mara. Now, how many of you know exactly where the Masai Mara is? There's a question for all of you. The Masai Mara is in a country called Kenya, which is in the eastern part of the African continent. So where you are, it's morning. Where we are, it is late afternoon. The sun is going to start setting soon. And what you're seeing is happening right now. What that means is that you can actually ask questions about these amazing animals that you're seeing. So you're on an African safari. You'll be switching between Kenya and South Africa. And we've got some amazing, amazing animals to show you. Now, I hope you're all very excited, because this is actually the first time that we've been able to put these young cheetah on camera. So they're tiny baby cheetah. You can see mum is off to the left. It's a bit of a tricky situation because the sun is setting right behind them. So at the moment it's very, very bright and they're hiding in the shade. So we had to choose whether we could see mum or whether we could see the cubs. But that's mum over there on the left and the 2 babies off on the right. Now, a cheetah, who knows the sort of the most important fact about a cheetah? Who knows what cheetah are famous for? Now, a cheetah, of course, is the fastest land mammal. So the mammal that moves the fastest on land. And what they can do is they can run up to 120 kilometers per hour. So over 70 miles, or up to 70 miles at a time. They are very, very fast cats. But that also means that they are one of the smallest. So although they are one of the big predators, they are still one of the smallest. They're smaller than a leopard. They're smaller than a lion. But it does bring us to the answer to Javon's question, who's wondering about how big the cheetahs are. So a cheetah, as I said, is one of the smaller predators, but they're still pretty heavy. They are also quite tall. So let me try and think. What's going to be the best way to explain it? They are over 1 meter tall at the shoulder, and that is over 3 feet high. These 2 are tiny. They are not much bigger. Those of you with cats at home, they're not much bigger than your cats at home. So they are still very, very young. They're only around about, I think they're about 5 or 6 months old. And then a big cheetah, a really, really big cheetah, an adult cheetah, will weigh somewhere in the region of around about 50 kilograms, so just over 100 pounds. Now, Alex, you want to know if they will stay with their families. And the answer to that is no. Well, sometimes. Okay, let me explain what I mean. Female cheetahs are solitary unless they have cubs. Once those cubs grow up, they will leave their mothers and they will go off and be independent. But if there are brothers, male cheetah will form a group known as a coalition. And the reason that male cheetahs form a group is so that they can fight off other males and they can defend a territory. So you know what a territory is? A territory is an animal's home that they defend. So kind of like a house and a garden that has a wall around it, that's an animal's territory. And they move about in that territory, but they defend it from other animals. So male cheetah defend territories, so they live together in groups called coalitions, sometimes 2, sometimes 3, sometimes even 5 males at a time. Whereas a female cheetah, she doesn't really have a territory. So she has a home range. She's kind of like a traveler. She's nomadic. She'll move about in different places. So she does that on her own. And the only time that you'll see a female with another cheetah is when she's with a male in order to mate, or when she has cubs. So that is the cub's mother over there. She's quite young. This is her very, very first litter of cubs. So she's new to the whole mothering thing. And at the moment, they're very sleepy kitties because it's hot here in Kenya. And that means that she's not really in the mood for moving too much. And they're going to rest as much as they possibly can in the shade. Now, Madison, here's the amazing thing. So Madison says, how old are cheetahs when they first start to walk? Now, Madison, cheetah are born what's known as what we call altricial. So kind of like, I don't know if you have ever had a kitten, or maybe you've seen puppies or kittens of a friend. When they're first born, they are very, very, very small, and their eyes are still closed, their ears are still flat, but they can still move around. They're not walking, but they're kind of crawling. They're able to crawl over their mums. And by 3 or 4 days, they're already starting to stumble up on their feet. And by 10 days old, they're actually moving about quite a lot. And they're actually walking. They're still a bit wobbly, and they haven't got the full coordination. But they are able to move about on their feet. So that's around about when they learn to walk. It's a quick process, and it has to be, because there's so many things out here that are scary to little cheetah cubs that they need to be able to walk, and they need to be able to run away as quickly as possible. Now, I've told you where we are. We're in a place called Kenya. Remember the Masai Mara? But remember I said that you'd be traveling about to different countries. What I'm going to do now is send you all the way across to South Africa so that Tristan can introduce himself.
A very, very good afternoon and welcome to our beautiful sunny day here in South Africa. As you can see, there's a little bird that's sitting on top of the tree, and it is a very warm welcome to the 3 schools that are joining us this afternoon. So, to Rice Creek, Glenwood and Providence Elementary, I hope that you'll have a wonderful time with us and that you will have an amazing afternoon learning all about the wonderful things of Africa. Now, my name is Tristan, and on camera today I have got Senzo. There we go. So Senzo always gives us his 3 fingers, and it is live, it is interactive, as Jamie and Brent I'm sure have told you, so you can get hold of them or get hold of your teacher and ask her any questions that you may have, and then send those questions through, and we'll try and answer as many as possible. Hopefully we'll get through a lot of different amazing, exciting things. Now, that little bird that's sitting up on the top there is a very special little bird. It's a bird that is probably one of our most clever birds that we have out here. This bird is able to mimic. Now, mimic means that it can copy, or it can do the same thing as what other birds or mammals do. And the reason why it's important and why it's clever is because this little bird eats insects, and so what it does is it will mimic the sound of maybe something like a mongoose or a meerkat, and those mongoose, it'll mimic their alarm call. And so as these mongoose or meerkat find food items, this little bird will mimic them and will try and get a situation where
it basically fools the mongoose or meerkat that there's something around. It'll do an alarm call and they think maybe a snake or a bird of prey, and they'll all go scuttling into their holes in the ground, and they'll leave that food, that insect, lying right there, and this bird can then come down and grab that insect and then go back up to its perch. So it's a very clever bird, and it's called a fork-tailed drongo, and its name comes from, you see that tail? It's got a very deep fork in it, and so that's where the name fork-tailed drongo comes from, should I say. It's a very cool bird. It's one of my favorite birds out here just because of how clever it is and how wily it is at being able to fool others in finding food items. You will find that it will sit like this during the day to just kind of, now especially at this time of the day, it's just sitting and resting, and it'll wait until insects start hatching. And this afternoon we've got a few termites coming out for the first time in our summer after the rains. And so that's why it's perching then. As these winged termites come out, it will then come down and grab them. Now, Lexi, you're wondering what colors can birds be? Well, birds can be all kinds of colors. We see birds being reds, greens, yellows. But wait, listen. Do you hear there's some guinea fowl making a lot of noise? Now, the guinea fowl, when they make noise, they could be alarm calling. Maybe there's a predator here. I also heard a grey go-away bird, so I want to quickly just investigate and see before I get back into our bird colours, because maybe there's something like a leopard or something else that may have walked in this area. Sometimes we get little mongoose. There are leopards, a lot of leopards in this area, and they will make the guinea fowls go crazy. So let's try and see if we can have a little look and investigate what's going on down here. Still, guinea fowls are still alarm calling, so it depends now. If the guinea fowls are down on the ground, then it will be an air-based predator, so something like an eagle. If it is on the trees, then we can think of maybe something like a leopard. So I just want to go down into this area. Let's have a look down here. There might be something lurking. It's a little deep drainage section, and this is a great place for things like leopards to be able to spend time and to be able to walk around unnoticed during the day. So it's a good place to come and look. Of course, like I say, there could be a number of different other animals in this particular section, and so we might have a situation where we bump into something like a mongoose. There could be a snake or something like that as well down here.
Well, sorry about that. We are live from the African bush. That does happen sometimes. Hopefully Tristan will be back and he will find whatever the guinea fowl are alarming at. My name is Brent, and a big welcome to all our schools today. Are you guys ready for an adventure? I think you are studying habitats, if I remember correctly. Now, you've just seen a couple of different habitats. Now, Jamie is in Kenya, Tristan's in South Africa, and I'm in Kenya. Now, the area I am in is slightly different to where Jamie is, and is very different to where Tristan is. So we are on the top of these quartz hills. Now you can see the quartz rocks on the road. And I'm going to show you how beautiful it is now. So there we go. So you might find some of the same animals living in different habitats. Now, that is always very interesting because their behavior might be different. So the lions in Djuma and the leopards at Djuma might behave slightly different to the lions and the leopards in the Masai Mara. And that's because of the different habitats. As you can see at Djuma, it's a lot thicker. There's a lot more trees. There's a lot more bushes. So their hunting strategies will be slightly different. Whereas here in these big open plains in the Masai Mara, they need to have a different approach, and you'll find a lot more sort of waiting at waterholes and ambushing than you do in Djuma, where they're able to use the bush to stalk. But it is a unique ecosystem, this particular section of Kenya, and we're very high. We're about 1,500, 1,600 meters above sea level, and normally at this height you have what you would call sour felt. Now, we don't have sour felt. I wonder why we don't have sour felt. Well, there's a couple of different reasons. We are almost on the equator, so we get a lot of rain, a lot more rain than Djuma, where Tristan is. So, for example, the average rainfall where Tristan is about 300 millimeters a year, where the average rainfall here is 1,000 millimeters a year. So it's always quite green around here in comparison. And the other reason is because of volcanoes, why we have such good sweet grass here. So there are lots of volcanoes along the Rift Mountains, or the Rwenzori Mountains, and the Virungus, which are probably, as the crow flies, about 500 kilometers away from here. Maybe a little bit further, but when they exploded and spewed ash, the wind drifted over here. And also just to the north of here, there's volcanoes called Longonot, and I can't remember the other one's name, Mount Sinai, I think, Suswa, thank you very much, Jao. So Mount Suswa, and then of course Kilimanjaro, which is just over there, which is the tallest mountain in Africa, was also a big volcano. So when all those volcanoes erupted, they spread a very, very deep layer of ash over this whole area. And now that ash is very nutrient rich, which enables grasses that wouldn't have normally been able to grow at this height to grow and grow well. So it's a very fascinating habitat, the Masai Mara, and it's been formed by a whole bunch of different factors all happening at over the last a couple of million years. But unfortunately for us, we don't have many animals around here. We're going to keep looking for some more animals, but it sounds like Jamie's cheetah are sitting up high atop a termite mound.
Well, the little ones are sitting actually quite close to the bottom of the termite mound, but Mum is sitting in the middle. Our cheetah love termite mounds, and the reason that they love termite mounds is because that way they can climb up and look across the open spaces, and they can spot animals that they might want to hunt, or they can spot animals that might want to hunt them, something like a lion, for example. Now, unfortunately, I'm going to have to say goodbye to these cheetah, and just to explain to you why I have to leave them, we have to get all the way from where we are now. So if we come back and we have a look at the mountains quickly, I have to get all the way from where we are right now to all the way over there. See where that far mountain is? Right at the edge there. Those mountains back there, that's where I've got to go. I've got to go. Wait for it. I've got to go somewhere there. That's it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly move slightly so that you can have a good look at their mother, because you've seen the cubs. Now let's go and have a look at Mum, where the light is slightly easier as well. So with young animals like this, we're very, very careful not to drive too close. Now, Naya, you want to know how cheetahs camouflage, and that is a very good question. The way that they camouflage is because they've got spotted coats. So it's something that a leopard does as well. Now, spots break up the outline of the animal, and they help it to hide away. So because they are a sort of a yellowy color, the same color as the grass out here, I'm just going to go around these people. So because they are the same color as the grass, that helps to hide them away. And then the spots just add an extra level of protection. So there's their mum over there. Let's have a look at her quickly before we have to leave. So she's been really lovely to us. Now, cheetah have a couple of different adaptations for the way that they are. So they've got camouflage because they have to sneak up on the animals. But you might be thinking, but why? If the cheetah is so fast, why would it have to be camouflaged? Why would it have to sneak up on the animals? And that's because they're very, very fast, but they can't run for very long. So they're short distance sprinters. So by being camouflaged, they can sneak up to an animal. Oh, big stretch! They can sneak up to an animal, and then they can start running. Now, if we have a close look at her feet quickly, you can actually see that they look almost like dog feet. They've got claws. And that will help them to run because it helps to give them traction. So leopards and lions keep their claws hidden away, but cheetahs have their claws out. Now, Alison, speaking about how fast they run, is a cheetah faster than a car? Faster than a car that's driven responsibly, yes. So maybe if you go on a motorway or a freeway, you might find that you go as fast as a cheetah does. And obviously, a cheetah can't run that fast for very long, but that's about as fast as a cheetah is going when you're driving on a freeway or a motorway. Otherwise, it'll be much faster than the cars drive in a city or a town. There's one other thing that a cheetah has because it's so fast, and that is a very thick tail. So she's got a long, thick tail, and that helps to balance her. So as she runs, obviously an antelope trying to run away from a cheetah is going to change direction. It's going to duck and dive and try and get away. But when she's going so fast, if she didn't have that tail, there's a possibility that she wouldn't be able to turn as quickly as the antelope, and she might even fall over because she's not balanced. So that's why they have big, heavy tails. It brings us to Chloe's question. Chloe, it's a very good question because you're thinking about the fact that we said that cheetah run out of stamina. A cheetah can chase an animal for maybe about 200 yards before they get tired. So it's not for very long at all. About 200 yards, and then they have to stop, and it takes them quite a long time to recover from a chase like that. And that's because there's so much happening. They've got, their muscles are working so hard. They've got huge lungs to breathe in. Their heart's going really fast. Oh, giving us a yawn, showing her teeth. She's going to get up. Yay. She's going to get up. We can stay for just a few more minutes just to see her. Oh, and we're lying down again. I really wanted her to get up so you could see her walk, but I think she was just getting more comfortable. I don't want to. I don't want to leave, but I'm going to have to. Otherwise, we really are going to be late, and I'm going to be locked in the park and in big trouble. Okay. Alright, kids, we've got to wave goodbye to this pretty girl and her two babies. We're going to have to say goodbye to them, and we are going to have to leave. So while I move away from her and find other things to show you, I didn't actually hear who I'm meant to be sending you across to, but I will sure that Alice will tell me. Ah, you've got somebody special to introduce you to. I'm going to send you across to Ralph in South Africa so that he can show you some of the amazing things that he would like to tell you about.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the Sabi Sands. My name is Ralph, and we're out here looking at some of these impala, and it's been a fantastic little sighting because for me this is only the second time that I've been in this specific area, and we've now spotted one of the first youngsters that have been born, as Wiem, who's on the camera, is just panning back to find that little youngster for you. 7 months ago those guys were going through their rutting season, and this is now the real sign of summer. So welcome back to summer. It's been a very cold few days. We did start to go into summer and it got nice and warm, but now we had a little cold front that passed. We're still feeling the last little bits of it. It's been quite cold, and today is actually the last little bit of it. It's getting quite comfortable and warm, but then towards the end of the week it's going to start warming up from here, and we're going to get nice and hot heading into summer. We've started to hear some of the woodlands kingfisher, which is another sign, and normally at almost exactly the same time as the impala to drop their young, we start to hear the woodlands kingfishers. Now I would like you guys to please join us on hashtag Safari Live on Twitter and on the live stream on YouTube, and please, we would like to welcome also the school group. So guys, we're going to be driving out. It's nice and warm this afternoon. This is just the start of the game drive, and from here we're going to be heading out. We have had some news that there are some elephants in the area, so we're going to have a look and see if we can find them. We also have had some news that the Styx Pride, the lion, who I think yesterday was also found. So we'll see if we can find all these animals for you guys. But for the time being, we've just had a look at these impala, and from here we're going to move along and see what else we can find. but they are just generally grazing and feeding through the thickets there. Obviously nothing too much to worry about, as we'll start to do the same. So I've just got a question there, and I'm not quite sure if we can just maybe get that question again. Lost that. Alright folks, I'm just going to wait for that question to be repeated to me, but in the meantime I think I'm going to start up and just start to head along and see what else we can find. It's gone a little bit quiet here. It's almost that middle of the day, so we need to start moving and see what starts coming alive. So, Airy, I hear a question, is the animal population more than the human population? Well, that's a very good question. But if we look at the animal kingdom as a whole, and we include the insects take up almost all the little spaces that are available. But the animal population, definitely, if we include the birds and the bees and the antelope and all of these animals, definitely I think we've got a much bigger population than humans. I mean, in human sense, we're heading towards about 10 billion people, but if we include all those little organisms, from bacteria to insects to flies to all of those little guys, we definitely have a much bigger population in the animal kingdom. However, we are enjoined in that animal kingdom, so we can't separate ourselves. Let's not forget about us also being part of the animal kingdom. So yes, we definitely fill out a big niche. So folks, let's start up. I do think that we might get into touch with these elephants along the road here. So let's have a look. Let's just give it a try, okay? Continue feeding for that little baby to continue suckling, and I'm sure in the next little while there'll be some more being dropped. And we've started to hear a lot of the bees, all migratory birds are starting to come back. That woodlands kingfisher, as I said before, but the honey guides, all of these kind of birds have started to come back. So we're definitely starting to hit properly now into summer. Okay folks, so we're going to continue looking for animals here, and I do know that Tristan is also looking for some animals, so maybe let's go and see what he's been able to find, or what he's still looking for.
Well, Ralph, we looked around to see if we could find what was making those guinea fowl alarm call and hope that maybe there was a spotted cat in the form of a leopard somewhere there. But unfortunately, no sign of anything that I could find. I went in and out of very thick, deep drainages and didn't manage to find anything. But what we have found is a group of wildebeest. And so wildebeest are a antelope that we get in this area. They don't normally occur in very big numbers here because the terrain and the vegetation is too thick. So it's not ideal for wildebeest. Wildebeest like to have very, very big, open, nice, clear areas in which they can eat grass. And so where Jamie and Ben are in the Masai Mara is a great place for wildebeest, and every year there will be this massive movement of wildebeest from that area, and there'll be hundreds of thousands of them that cross from Tanzania into Kenya. And here we don't have the same situation because it's not big open grassland like it is there, and so the habitat is not great for them. They don't have an ability to be able to go in big numbers because they get killed a lot by the lions and the leopards and the wild dogs and the hyenas. But this herd is probably about 20 odd of them in this grouping, and they spread out having a bit of a graze at the moment. So Addison, you're wondering how many baby antelope can January.
Welcome back, everyone. Unfortunately, we're not having the best luck this afternoon finding any big cats, but I was hoping for some lions in this area. But hang on, what's under that bush? You see those crotons there? I think it is nothing. A shadow lion. Let's have a quick look with my binoculars across the valley. Oh dear, very quiet in this part of the Mara today. Nope, that was a stick. Mrs. Osman would like to know how far are we from the Mara Triangle. Okay, let's have a look. As the crow flies, we're probably less than 10 kilometers. So the Mara Triangle runs, see that, there's a ridge right in the distance called the Olololo Escarpment. So that is the top boundary of the Mara Triangle. But between us and there is the Mara River, which is the other boundary. So if we keep going to the left, you'll see a bunch of little Inselbergs or hills. There we go. That looks like some of them there. Yes. So those are in the Mara Triangle. And we do get lots of wildebeest here, but seasonally. So there are quite a lot of, about 250,000 wildebeest still around the Talek area, where I'm going to be heading in the morning. But in this area, all the wildebeest, 1.5 million of them, have vacated. They've gone to Tanzania. They've gone down to the southern plains to give birth. Now, I'm hoping that the Loiter herd, which is that 250,000 or so who stay, are going to give birth in the Mara this year, which will mean in January, February, it could be February, will be really, really spectacular. Having lots of baby gnus canoeing about. Whew, Jay would like to know how many animals we usually see on the plains. Well, it depends. It changes every day. Now, I'll give you an example. A few months ago, I could sit here and we could see 500,000 wildebeest spread out through the area, maybe 10, 20,000 zebra, but they've all migrated south at the moment. So on an average day, we probably see, I don't know, 100 elephant, 100 buffalo, 10 to 20 lions, a couple of cheetah. I'm saying my luck's just not very good today.